My name is Robert Tlou. That means T-L-O-U. I'm sure it's it's a very 4 words surname, you know. And of course I'm staying here. This is my house where I'm staying. I used to stay in New Brighton before, the township down at the bottom. And I'm married to a lady from East London by the name of Eminent. God has given us 2 children, and of course they are not here in PE, they are working outside somewhere in Joburg and in Pretoria. Actually I'm a Sotho. As we all know that in the Eastern Cape, most people who are staying here are Xhosa-speaking people. I used to be involved in many other things, you know, and more especially, you know, my occupation. I used to work for Ford sometimes, you know, sometime long ago, and before Ford pulled out of South Africa. And my be working at Ford, you know, was involved in as you know, that there were some trade unions, you know, in the company, you know, and the only one of the trade unions at that time, you know, during the time of apartheid, trade unions were not allowed, you know, companies were not allowed to have trade unions in the company unless that company recognized that trade union as their own trade union. And there was the first job steward, you know, when they were at in the company by the trade union called Makusa, and it was one of the trade union which was very much, you know, at that time, and a trade union which was one of the trade unions which came up, you know, with involved in the struggle of the workers, working for the workers, you know, standing for the workers, you know, and so on. But that didn't stop me to be involved, you know, within the community of Port Elizabeth. I'm one of the chaps, you know, who turned a single men's quarters compartment down here. It's really and make it an old age home, and it was the only old age home, and it is still even the only one for the black people, you know, in 1984. So we organize ourselves, and we call ourselves a PE association, and we make it a point that, you know, we have some discussions, you know, within the municipality of that time, you know, which they resisted of us of not getting that that place, you know, which was, you know, and single men quarters, you know, it was just meant for the people who are working from outside, who were working down here at that time. And that contract, when it was over, because they were building the harbour, when that harbour was the fridge at the harbour, when that contract was over, and then they were supposed to go back home, and that place was just open, and then we said, no, we want to use this place for our old people, and you know, because it was the only place where we could see that we can have. And so we organized churches, you know, to help us, you know, to make it more better, building that building and changing it into an old age home. And it was my involvement, my first involvement, you know, plowing back free to that community for many, many years. Even now, I'm still involved in that old age home, you know, it is called Ekpumlane Old Age Home. And I used to stay in New Brighton, but I'm staying up here now at Codgrace, you know, when the development comes, and then we were also one of the first people who came up here and buy a house over here. Then I was also involved in the community services over here, you know, like the forum of the police, and the many things that we do it here, you know, sports, you know. We involved in sports, and because, you know, when you came up here, there were few people who were staying here, but this place was not developed as it is developed now. You know, it was developed, you know, so schools were built here, and one of the schools, you know, is the one over here. It's schools for the blind, you know. The one we were standing next to, that wall, you know, you remember we were standing over here. This school is a school for the blind, and I was also involved. I was also one of the people who was involved, and I was one of the members, you know, who make it sure when this school was supposed to be having people around here and looking after it. And so more of my involvement, you know, at work, you know, as all of you know that, you know, at work, you know, when I was still working at Ford, you know, it was tough because, you know, when we formed that trade union, you know, Makusa, you know, it was during the time when apartheid was very strong then, and we have to see ourselves, you know, working hard to make that trade union to be recognized, you know, and drawing up, you know, the memorandum of understanding that the Ford Motor Company could accept it. And it was not easy. But at the end, you know, we won that battle, and then Ford Motor Company sees to that, okay, fine, we'll have you, but under certain conditions at that time. And we also try to see ourselves, you know, working hard for the workers. But later on, you know, we involved one chap, you know, from overseas, you know, because we thought, you know, it was good for us to have our right in the company, you know, and we were involved with Sullivan Coat. Sullivan Coat was one of the Ford Motor companies from Canada and overseas, you know, and we want to use that coat to help us at Ford. As much as that, you know, in 2004, I was also involved in the municipality to have a forum for the older people. That forum was solely to see that, you know, our older people must see that, you know, in the clinics where we are staying here, around here, there should be some clinics, you know, that people mustn't go a long distance, you know, from here to Livingston Hospital or to other places, you know, where they are very far away. They could have their medications down here where they are near their places where they are staying. So it is something that I cannot really explain what happened, but it was something within me. In all my life, I wanted to plow back to those people who suffered, who need something, who need help. A help that I can say, material help if I can. That is one of the things that someone cannot just think of it. What makes me to drive me to be able to be involved in all the communities where I'm staying. You know, when I heard the news, you know, I was shocked, and I couldn't believe it, and I was excited because it was for the first time that in my lifetime that I got this kind of honor. And yes, you know, at my age, you know, it means that for me it shows that I have done something for the people. More especially building up, you know, the relationship with the people where I'm staying, the people outside, and my church people where I'm here. And that makes me to have more of my life, you know, and spend more of my life with other people. When I got this news, you know, I asked myself, you know, Maria, tell me, how did you get my name around? They said, no, we got your profile and the Premier's office. Mama give it and say, no, get somebody who is involved, you know, and see that if that particular person is the person that is really with a passion for everybody, who doesn't choose. And it was good for me to have that kind of news. With the community of the Eastern Cape, first I can say to the people of the Eastern Cape that it is not easy to have a person of my caliber to involve myself within the services, free services of looking for the other people, you know. It is not that easy. But it is good for us to learn from other nations, from other people, how they look after their own people. It is also a good thing that, you know, I remember that, you know, one time the Eastern Cape Premier's office, you know, was inviting all the older persons to have, for the first time, I think 3 years ago, 4 years ago, to have, for them to go and enjoy and see what is taking place within the legislature of Bisho. And that, to me, you know, it says the Eastern Cape people, you know, they're thinking very much of other people, more especially the older people, whom they, you know, when you're getting old, you've always been forgotten the good work that you used to do, your life, and you have just forgotten. But the Eastern Cape people didn't do that. They have made it a point that they courageously looking after the older people, you know, who retired, who are sitting at home, and do something for them. And I'm happy for that. With the youth, more especially in the Eastern Cape, one of the things that is very important for the youth is that our youth must begin to say that education is a priority for them. That's number one. And what follows, in order to become educated, you must be somebody as a youth who can listen and be disciplined. Discipline goes a long way. You don't start to have discipline at school. Discipline starts at home, where you are living. And that discipline will take you a long way. As a youth and a young child who grew up in the Eastern Cape, a place where you know exactly that how it looks like, one must say, yes, one day it is my wish to become somebody else. Making an example, here in the Eastern Cape, you might say, do you want to become a pilot? Not only that you want to become a teacher, a minister, but you must become a pilot, you must become one who can be an engineer. We haven't got engineers enough in the Eastern Cape. And it is my wish to say that the youth of today must select a course, more especially those who can be in a position of becoming engineers, you know. Well, we know that maths and science is not an easy one, but it is important for them to see that engineers in our Eastern Cape are not there. We are lacking engineers more than any other area in our Eastern Cape. That is what I can say to our youth.